moving on to Wednesday night, big game against Newcastle, the second leg of the League Cup semi-final. Arsenal trailing 2-0 from that first leg ahead of their trip up to St James's Park. It's a big ask, but there does seem to be a lot more optimism now after Arsenal's recent run following those 2 cup defeats in quick succession, especially after the Man City game. Plus, Newcastle have hit a patchy bit of form, certainly at home. They've lost their last 2 at home. Seems to be a bit more optimism now that they could actually turn this thing around.
Yeah, it's kind of role reversal, really. And when the first game rolled around, Newcastle had won like 7 straight and were flying. Arsenal was struggling a little bit. Confidence was low. And now it's kind of flipped on its head a little bit. And Arsenal going into this second leg full of confidence with goals behind them. And Newcastle, like you said, have lost a couple at home. So they'll believe that they can do it. I mean, they absolutely can do it. You know, we've seen a couple of, Bournemouth went up there and scored 4 the other day. So it can absolutely happen. And what better preparation than smashing 5 past Manchester City for it? So they will be confident. I think, and it sounds cliche, but I think it is absolutely the case that the first goal is absolutely crucial. If Arsenal can get that first goal, I don't even think it necessarily has to be an early goal. Even if you're talking 55, 60 minutes, if you can get that first goal, there's going to be so much energy in that stadium. But you score the first goal, that energy is going to flip to nervous energy and fear, I would say, because Newcastle, we know that dream of a trophy, it's there, it's so close again. They think they're there. They certainly think they've got a big foot at Wembley after that first leg result. But if Arsenal score first and just give them something to think about, I'm sure there'll be a lot of nervousness around that stadium there, and that can creep into the players. So it's really, really important that Arsenal get that first goal. If they can, then they absolutely, because they don't even have to win by 3 goals. Remember, it can just be 2 goals, and then you take the sort of lottery that penalty shootouts can bring. So it's winnable. It's still a massive ask, though. They're huge underdogs going into the game, no doubt about it. But it's definitely one that they can win. They can overturn that deficit.
Would it be an over-exaggeration to say this maybe the success of Arsenal's season hinges on this game? Because we've spoken about the need for trophies. Obviously, still in the Premier League title race, just about, still in the Champions League, but we know how hard those 2 are going to be to win. This still, despite the 2-0 deficit, still is probably just about Arsenal's best chance of a trophy. And with that need, with Arteta in particular, to get that trophy, could Arsenal's season depend on this game?
I don't know. I think it's maybe a bit early to say that. I mean, it's important. There's no doubt about it. But I don't know if the season sort of depends on this game. I don't think if Arsenal, say they won the League Cup and then they finished second and went out in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, I don't think many Arsenal fans would be sitting there at the end of the season deeming that season a success just because they got themselves a Carabao Cup. I think a lot of them will still look at it as a really disappointing season. So I don't really think it revolves around it. It'll be nice, and it could be the real sort of kickstart to get that silverware. So don't get me wrong on that. It is very, very important, but I don't think the season kind of rests on it. I think they'll certainly be judged more in how they end up in the Premier League and how they end up in the Champions League than whether they win the Carabao Cup or not.
And how about team news? Are we talking full strength? Any changes for Man City?
Pretty much, barring any sort of knocks that I don't know about or we don't know about from the City game, then I think they're okay. I think there's a chance maybe that Ben White, he's very, very close. There is a chance potentially. I mean, Mikel's speaking at his press conference a little bit later on. You kind of feel like with Ben White, though, what would be the point, to be honest? It's like they go to Dubai on Thursday for 6 days, and then you come back for the Leicester game in 10 days' time. And it's like, what are you going to get out of Ben White potentially being on the bench against Newcastle? It almost feels a bit like not worth the risk. So he is very, very close. But it feels more sensible maybe just to wait until after Dubai to bring him back in. But other than that, no, I think everyone's okay.
Yeah, and as you alluded to there, 10-day break before the next game and off to Dubai again. We know how big that was for Arsenal last season going to Dubai. It's almost taken on this mythical status that is sort of it will sort the season out, whatever happens if they go to Dubai. But I mean, what are their plans? Is it same again?
Yeah, absolutely. Arteta loves it. He's been desperate to get back there. He loves it over there. The players love it over there. I think there's a lot of pressure now. Every time you go to Dubai, it's like, right, you've got to win 16 straight when you come back from that now, or it's an absolute failure. But yeah, they train, obviously, but it's about bonding as well. Like the families usually go out and are allowed time out. It's just and the players need it. They absolutely need it. It's been a brutal January. And to be fair to them, they've handled it really well and picked up some good results. So they just need a break. So there will be training, but it is very much about getting the group together, recharging the batteries, having a bit of downtime with families, enjoying yourself, and just relaxing, and then coming back for what again is going to be a really demanding running over the final 3 months. So yeah, that's a bit of training, but definitely a bit of downtime as well.